I hereby call to order this meeting of the Triton Regional School Committee on June 12, 2024 at 7 p.m. I am Linda Lukowski, Chair of the School Committee. I want to welcome everyone here tonight. A reminder that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. I'm going to read our vision statement. We are a community of learners known for unwavering commitment to meeting the needs of all students. Through the adoption of best practices and our active partnership with families in the wider community who are united in supporting the development of engaged, successful, responsible, resilient learners, students will be well prepared to be ethical, empathetic, and contributing citizens. Can we please say the Pledge of Allegiance? First, I would like to welcome Kelly Smullen, our new school committee member. Welcome. The next is the Student of the Month. I'm going to hand that to Erin.
Student of the Month is one of the special items on our agenda. The Student of the Month was established in 2019 by the school committee to honor exemplary students. Nominations are collected throughout the year from staff members at all 5 schools. Nominations are made through 5 categories: service to fellow students, teachers, or community, dedication, determination, and persistence in the face of obstacles, attitude towards learning, determination, high achievement in academics, athletics, or performing arts, and significant improvement in academics, athletics, or performing arts. The selections are made by the chair of the school committee, the superintendent, and 1 member of the Policy and Advocacy Subcommittee. The Student of the Month is Andy Doherty. He was nominated by Principal Patrick Kelly. Congratulations, Andy. Could you please both come up, and Mr. Kelly, can you tell us why you nominated Andrew?
Good evening, everyone. So I thought it was really important for us as we came to the end of the school year to be recognizing a graduating senior. And when I was thinking about who we should be recognizing from within our senior class and within our community, I couldn't have picked a better candidate for Student of the Month than Andy Doherty. Really, with the 5 categories that you described, Andy could have been nominated in pretty much any of them. And one of the things that I think we want to make sure we do as a school and as a school community is really focus on celebrating excellence, celebrating academic achievement, and celebrating those within our community who are always willing to serve and step forward. Thinking back on the 4 years that Andy spent at Triton High School, starting as a freshman with him going house to house with the Flamingos, and being one of our students that showed up on a regular and consistent basis to make sure he was advocating on behalf of his class, having setbacks with the class officer process, and doing what you wouldn't see many do, which is show the character to decide, I might not have been picked, I'm still going to show up and help serve my class, and in a lot of ways do more than a lot of the students that got picked along the way. And he's been an exemplary leader in the community, a captain, someone that his classmates can turn to. He's an exceptional student in the classroom, and is just someone that is so worthy of ongoing recognition. I think one of the things that we should be incredibly proud of is just the fact that he has had kind of the drive and perseverance to put himself in a position where in the next month he'll be heading off to the Naval Academy. And to not just get into 1 service academy, but to get into 4 is something truly special. And there are not many students and not many people that come through Triton of that caliber. And I am so incredibly proud that we've had him with us for the past 4 years. I think you as a school committee have been able to recognize how wonderful he is as he sat alongside you for 2 of those years, right? Was it just 2? For 2 of those years, and been able to genuinely enjoy his presence, because on top of the academic accomplishments and the leadership that he's demonstrated, he's just also a really good person, and someone that his friends can count on, someone that his classmates have been able to count on, someone that his community has been able to count on, and someone that I'm confident is going to be leading us, whether it's in a leadership position across our country or back in our community at someday. I'm confident he's someone that's going to be representing and leading us in the future that I'll be proud to say I knew way back when. So thank you for listening to me gloat about him for a couple of minutes, but I couldn't be more proud of Andy and what he's accomplished here at Triton.
Next is the superintendent was unable to attend the senior award night and is going to present his award tonight.
I have a college and high school graduate myself this year, so I have missed a lot of the class of 2024's end-of-year events, and that is unfortunate. So it was announced, I'd like to have Ben Norton come up here. So I want to share formally. The Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents has commissioned an award to be given to high school students who have distinguished themselves in the pursuit of excellence during their high school careers. The criteria are strict and focus foremost on students' cumulative GPA and class rank, but I am afforded some flexibility in my selection based on other factors. Achievement in the classroom is undoubtedly a top priority for us as educators, but as outlined in our district vision, it is just as important that we foster engaged, successful, responsible, and resilient young women and men who are well prepared to go into the world as ethical, empathetic, and contributing citizens. Ben Norton was an easy choice for this year's award, and this was announced in my absence at the seniors' night a couple of weeks ago. So I'm having the chance to recognize him here tonight publicly. It's been repeated quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, but the class of 24 is a special group. They've shown an incredible commitment to their academics, but also to one another and our community as a whole. With so many of them meeting this academic rigor envisioned by this award, I chose Ben as an individual who has strongly modeled that larger vision we have for our students over their time here at Triton. Whether in academics, sports, clubs, or activities, everyone I spoke with confirmed that what we all know about Ben, that he's not only achieved the top of his class here at Triton academically, but he's also someone who has shown himself to be one of the strongest and most humble contributors to our community. He's always willing to give of his time and talents, and as one person described him, he's just an incredible young man. Ben, I'm grateful for the many contributions you have made to the senior class, the high school, and the entire Triton community over your tenure in our schools. Ben earned the distinction of being the class of 2024's valedictorian, and he will head to Dartmouth in the fall. Best of luck in all you do, Ben, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Next is the class of 2024 retirees. Triton has been extremely lucky to have many excellent staff members who serve in the district long-term until their retirement. At the end of the school year, the time comes to say sad goodbyes to our retirees who have positively affected so many of our students and families, and I want to thank them for everything they have done over the years. The superintendent is going to introduce this year's retirees, and if you are here in attendance, we ask you to stand and please stay standing.
Okay, so we're gonna go through the list, and I'm gonna move this microphone very far away. Again, we have only a small handful of our retirees here this evening, but we do want to mention them all by name and recognize them, and as Linda mentioned, certainly stand and be recognized if you are here in the room. And thank you for those who came out this evening to be recognized. So from Newbury Elementary School, we have Amy Fremont Smith, who I have not seen. Sue Jankowski is not here. Mary Jo Lagana. And Jean Mahoney is not here. All right, from Pine Grove School, Mary Ellen Moreland. It's our only Pine Grove retiree this year. From Salisbury, we have several retirees. Lori Anderson is not here. Kathy Comans is not here. Catherine Daw is not here. Joanne Levesque. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. I'm comparing my lists. I feel like I'm missing someone. And Kara Purdy is not here. From the middle school, Nancy Sweeney is not here because she's DJing a dance out at the front door. And Sharon LaRosa. And at the high school, Eric Champy, I did not see him. And I know it's Cynthia Bell is sitting. So Cynthia retired after the end of last year, so she is here to be recognized. I knew there was someone on my list, and I saw your face, and you were hiding behind Sarah. So for all the retirees, just to note, the collective experience of the Baker's dozen of retirees this year is 318 years of collective service to the Triton schools. So thank you to all. You are a representative group of a larger group, but we thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for the contribution to all of our students and families in the Triton schools. Congratulations.
Next is oral communications from the public. Seeing none. The next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains no donations tonight. The consent agenda also includes out-of-state and overnight trip planning permission approval for Pine Grove School sixth graders to go to the ecology school for a week in October 2024. Can I have a motion to approve consent agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? New business, would any members like to raise additional items for inclusion on a future agenda? I guess that means yes.
Never lost my mind yet.
Mostly.
I'm going to let Superintendent Forget read the first paragraph for me. And cell phones. Would you read that into the record for me?
Yes, for the record, the Ipswich Local News has reported that IHS, Ipswich High School teachers, I'm assuming that that's their request, is to ban cell phones. That's the headline. Am I reading the whole article into the record or just the? Okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
So once again, it is a very important issue. I think that there's nothing more detracting from teaching and learning than cell phones in the high school. And I've asked the committee to reconsider being more stringent than banning.
Thank you, Paul. The next item is the DCC meeting update, and I'm going to hand that to Narissa.
Sorry, hopefully All right. Good now? All right. The last DCC meeting was May 23rd in Rowley. There was a presentation on school funding and the options for assessment formulas. The discussion was actually born out of the Alternative Assessment Working Group. We had a lengthy discussion about the various options, and I think, interestingly enough, there were a variety of suggestions from the audience, from the town representatives, as to some other strategies they might employ to better weather the changes in assessments as well. The request, it was primarily a presentation. The request after that was for the town representatives to take that attended, to take that back to their individual boards and have some additional discussions about whether work should continue to be towards considering an alternative assessment, or if we hit a point where it did not currently make sense to do that, and that group should be paused again, as it has been in the past. So that's going to be our next discussion. The DCC, however, doesn't meet again until late summer.
And I just wanted to add to that it was a great meeting to see all of our towns come together and really try and think about how they can work together and come up with something that would help benefit the schools.
And I should give kudos to Erica Jacobson, who did a significant portion of the presentation as the chair of the Newbury Finance Committee. She was very impartial, I think, in putting her part of the presentation together, and it was informative and very helpful. And I think it was nice, given that these have been district and town discussions, to have both a district piece of it and a town piece of it that were done by people representing both the district and the town.
And it was just wonderful to see how the DCC has finally come to what we wanted it to be, where all the towns come together and talk.
I didn't get to attend because I was at the high school concert for the kids, so I was unable to attend this one. Did you get a sense, I know we've talked in the past when we have important messages that we need to send them with bullet points to talk to their respective committees? Or did you get a good feel that they'll be able to relay the information over and have a discussion without needing those bullet points?
So I can say the conversations that I had afterwards was that the members who did not make it were going to be asked to actually watch the video. So I think that's as close as we can come to a direct presentation to those individuals unless we're invited to the individual boards, which we did offer as well, to go and redo the whole thing for individual boards if they preferred that. But part of the intent was to just have it for the record, right? So it's a resource for people to go back to try and have a greater understanding. And it seemed from the reaction that I heard from members, Kelly, I don't know if you want to jump in.
I was just going to say, just being a new member, it was incredibly informative, and I think the resource, just going back and watching it is, I think is going to be really incredibly helpful. So I just wanted to chime in and say yes,
And I want to thank Narissa. I mean, Narissa, we're so lucky to have the knowledge that Narissa has for Chapter 70 and how the state rolls out their funding. So I appreciate Narissa being there. And I think what Narissa and Erica did is something that should be done every year if we have any new members or any new select board members that come on, or finance, or even community members that want to come in and learn how our budget gets formed. I think it would be a wonderful way to get people acclimated to that.
I know, as I was sitting there, I do feel that I wish there was a way that we could possibly somehow push it out there more into the greater community, because I think it would be incredibly helpful to make more people understand really where we're coming from. I don't know, I am with you with that greater community piece.
I was going to say, I think sharing that video, because over the 2-ish hours, hour and a half, 2 hours of the meeting, it covered the basic territory of Chapter 70 primer and an assessment primer as well. But other than that, I mean, there was a lot of other tangential territory that was covered that would be hard to kind of capture in a summary. But I think sending the video out and encouraging people to watch that, I think is a good idea. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Maybe that's the next P&A item that we highlight, and maybe we could have a guest writer put some bullet points together of the important pieces and then put the link with it.
With a link to the video.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say, when I first started, I got Narissa on the phone giving me, and it was amazing. So to see her and Erica put that out for everyone and not just like a one-on-one, I think is amazing, because it really did give, in that presentation, the hours that you spent on the phone walking me through how this worked, you got that down to 90 minutes in a way that, and I will say this, my children were at that meeting, and they actually followed it. So it's laid out very well, because they were able to kind of take away from that too. But honestly, if anyone that's watching this has not watched that video and has questions about the budget, or or how it gets to where it comes down to these meetings and on to a voting level, it's the best resource you will come across. And you and Erica did a phenomenal job, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I think your kids had the best comment ever. They wanted to know what book, Chapter 70, we were referring to. Because they kept saying Chapter 70, Chapter 70. What book are they talking about? Where's the book?
They may have missed the first 3 minutes. But after that, it was, it's not sourced what book that's coming from. So CKLA is working beautifully as well, if anyone needs to know.
And I'm sorry, but I missed it. And I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I want to congratulate also Narissa.
Call it the Heroine Award, but it's Heroines in the Commonwealth. What is the designation? I haven't seen it posted anywhere.
I didn't really want to say those words.
The Heroine Award?
Yeah, it's the Commonwealth Heroine Award. So I guess
Poorly named.
So thank you, I appreciate that. I never like talking about myself, because it gets really awkward, like it feels right now.
Eat it up.
I was nominated, I guess, actually by a few people for the Commonwealth Heroine Award through the Massachusetts Commission on the something of women. I can't remember exactly what it is, but they do a thing every year. Yes, and it's roughly 125 people from across the Commonwealth, one per Senate district and one per representative district. And obviously Raleigh lands in a couple of those, and I was lucky enough to be chosen by Representative Kastner as her honoree for this year. So I unfortunately will be missing the last day of school to head into Boston and accept an award on Friday. So, and I appreciate that from Representative Kastner.
It's very well-deserved, and they need to change the name of it, because I didn't want to say that, because I thought I was saying it incorrect. I was going to say it incorrectly.
So has it been publicized, or will it be publicized after Friday?
I think both. So my understanding is it came from the commission a couple of weeks ago when they announced the full list, and then the individual representatives and senators are welcome to publicize that as they can. Some of them have done that already, where they had a solo photo with their honoree, and other ones are waiting for the ceremony on Friday to grab that photo so that they have it to use for publicity purposes.
So will that happen with Rep. Kastner on Friday with you?
That is my understanding, yes.
Yes. So once again, congratulations, and we're very lucky to have you. Okay, the next item is the subcommittee reorganization. Attached to the agenda is a copy of the proposed subcommittee assignments for the coming year. I tried to accommodate everyone as much as I could. Are there any questions or issues with the proposal? Can I have a motion to approve the subcommittee assignments as presented for the 2024-2025 school year?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Next is the food services presentation. I'd like to thank Sarah Littman for not only being here, but for the many, many things that you bring to our district.
Including the clothing.
Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to be here. We have had quite a few exciting things happen this year and over the last couple years, and so I wanted to come in person and update everyone on the things that we're doing in food services. So I did make a little slideshow, which I'm very excited about, so I will start it. So first things first is thank you to the school committee for all your support in getting universal school meals passed. You should be thanking yourselves as all the work that we've done, part of the School Nutrition Association Legislative Committee, to get universal school meals passed permanently. That happened in August. Yeah, that's exciting. The USDA visit that we had last May was a big player in that, and just being in the room where it happens and being able to testify at the State House on behalf of all of our students and getting that passed has been huge. And I'll show you in a few slides how that's had such an impact on our program in just this last year alone. So more legislative things. In April, we hosted Representative Kastner, Senator Tarr, and Representative John Chant for the More Than a Meal Tour. So the Department of Education has been listening to all of us, where, as it's no secret, that food service departments across the Commonwealth, specifically food service departments, their revolving fund is doing quite well. And so we are hosting our legislators to let them know what we're doing with that money, how we're investing it back into our programs, specifically more local sourced foods and cultural diversity in our menus. And so we invited all of our representatives to come and see our program and talk to students and see all the choices that we've had. So I feel very honored that I can invite people into our kitchens and that they're clean enough to do so, and to see all the exciting work that we're doing, because it is important. They are making the laws, and we want to make sure that they continue to invest in universal school meals. So more legislative exciting things. So Triton was actually featured at 2 national conferences this past year. The annual nutrition conference is every July, and last year in Denver there was a presentation on universal school meals, and there's a picture from our USDA visit that was featured at that conference. And then most recently in March, every March there's a legislative action conference where school nutrition directors go to Washington, D.C. to meet with their legislators on a national level. We're advocating for different school nutrition bills, the nutrition standards from the USDA. And so at that conference, there was an update about how Massachusetts passed universal school meals. And I was very proud to take these pictures that Triton was featured in this presentation. So So the top right is a picture of Rob Leshin, who's the Director of Food and Nutrition at DESE, and one of Cindy Long from the USDA's aides. And then there's a picture of me and a student advocate at the State House. And then specifically, my name was on the screen. I'm also not good about talking about myself, but it was really cool to see my name on the screen at a national conference in DC about legislative action. So it's been quite a wild ride, but it's been really, really exciting. So I do want to just update everyone on an unexpected win that we've had with universal school meals. So parents and guardians are starting to interact with our department more, specifically through our social media accounts. More children are eating school breakfast and lunch every day, and one of the unexpected wins is the effect on our children who are considered picky eaters. So because they have a lot more choices every day and we're expanding what we offer, students are choosing fruits and vegetables, they're choosing to eat a variety of food, and therefore our students are the healthiest they've ever been. So I use this story a lot. I love this story. So the picture in the middle, I got an email from, or a message from a parent who was like, hey, my son loves these nut things, which we don't have nuts in our kitchen. So I was like, oh, I'm not sure what he's talking about, but she said he's a super picky eater. I was curious, and I pretty much said, I don't know how to tell you this, but your son's excited about roasted chickpeas. And that was a huge win for us. I have parents reaching out saying, well, we talked about lunch at dinner tonight. It's awesome. The variety of fruits and vegetables we're offering every day. Students will reach out and be like, hey, that kale salad you had on the menu today was fire. So it's been really cool to see, and I'm excited to see where it goes in the future as we continue to expand the variety of foods that we're offering. So, participation. This has been really cool to see, okay? So participation BC, or before COVID. So our total student body percent of students who are eating, okay, across the entire district. For breakfast in 2019, 15% of our student population was eating breakfast. And now that number is double. 30% of our students are eating breakfast every single day. For lunch, 43% of all students were eating lunch every day in 2019, and now we're at 65%. 65% of students who come to school every day have lunch, and I wanted to go even further to see the difference since 2022. So 2022, we were in universal school meals for 2 years, and just to see, I started in the spring of 2021, so I wanted to see where we've gone since in the last 2 years of having universal school meals. So breakfast, we have seen a 40% increase in breakfast participation in the last 2 years. That is massive. It is really cool to see. To give you a better example, when I started, Newberry was serving 15 to 20 breakfasts a day. This morning we did 114. So more students are coming to start their day with a healthy breakfast, which makes them better students. So that's exciting. And then I don't want to discredit 16% increase, because I think that's still pretty good, but 16% increase in lunch participation in the last 2 years. So we're seeing an increase continuously through universal school meals, and we're going to continue to offer a variety of fruits and vegetables through that. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the incredible staff who works every single day to feed our students. Even with these significant increases in participation, they continue to serve meals with a smile. With the successes of our department, the morale in the kitchen continues to be amazing, and we are getting more staff to help with the participation increases. We're reinventing school lunch, and we're increasing the amount of scratch cooking. So the top left picture, we invited a chef to come in and do hands-on training with our staff so that we can start to make more food from scratch versus frozen. So an evolution of Triton school meals. So what are we doing? How are we improving the quality of our food? It starts with little changes. For me, I'm a registered dietitian, so I love the challenge of making food taste good, but still fall within those strict nutritional guidelines that the USDA makes us follow. And so you see the picture on the left has our old mac and cheese recipe, which is a yellow canned cheese. And now we're offering a 3-cheese cavatappi mac and cheese, which the kids are like, this is better than Panera. And it looks like Panera too, which is cool. And then even the broccoli. So, when I started, we were doing a lot of frozen steamed broccoli, and just making the change to getting fresh roasted broccoli. It's really cool to see the kids getting excited about broccoli, which if anyone heard about Broccoli Gate last year at the high school, that's been solved. But we came, it was like a 2-hour delay, and so we came in and started cooking lunch real quick, and we didn't get the hoods on quick enough. The whole school smelled like broccoli, and the senior class made little stickers that said, "Just say no to broccoli." It was a whole thing. But anyways, I digress. So we're reinventing school lunch. It's not the same thing that we're doing now. In the upper left-hand corner, we're doing roasted buffalo cauliflower, and then our fruit salad at the high school has 7 different types of fruit in it. And so it's been really incredible to see not only just the types of food that we're serving, but seeing the kids get excited about the food that we serve. One of our goals as a department this year has been focusing more on local and sourcing local foods, and then also cultural diversity in our menus. So we are currently getting local items from over 10 Massachusetts businesses and farms. In the upper left-hand corner, there's bagels from One Mighty Mill in Lynn. We got fiddleheads in the bottom left-hand from a farm in Sharon. And then the bottom right, we're sourcing local haddock from Red's Best, which is caught right off of Boston. And then the farm fresh fries from a farm in Hadley, Mass. So that's been really cool. And then also, again, we're doing dumplings, edamame, which has been, I did not anticipate the kids loving edamame, but I can't take it off the menu now. So I'm excited to see that grow. We're continuing to meet with local vendors and using our grant money from the Northeast Food for Schools to continue putting the money back into the Massachusetts economy, but then also serving good quality food that's grown down the road. So that's been great. One of our goals specifically for next year is more nutrition education and how we can do that in the cafeteria and then outside the cafeteria. So we are going to be doing more taste tests. This year we did a taste test. We made noodle bowls, and those are beet and butternut squash noodles from a farm in Hadley, Massachusetts. And then we are just trying to get student feedback. I tell the kids I don't want to put anything on the menu that you're not going to eat, right? So we're trying to create new recipes, but then get student feedback and learn about the food that they're eating. So more nutrition education in the classroom. So currently we have a snack program for preschool. That's not one of our preschoolers, full disclosure, that is my niece. But they're using those nylon knives and cutting boards. So instead of providing snack in the classroom, what we're doing is we're giving whole fruits and vegetables to the pre-K, and they are preparing the snack in the classroom. It helps develop their motor skills, and it's also increasing their likeliness of having the food, because the science says involving kids in the kitchen, they'll more likely eat the food that they're preparing. So our pre-K has been getting whole fruits and vegetables all school year and eating it in the classroom, which is great. In the fall, I do a class with the first graders learning about My Plate. The 8th graders, we've been doing a class on added sugar, learning how to read nutrition labels, and then we're doing cooking classes at the middle school. So I'm really excited to continue the nutrition education that we're doing. Specifically, since last year, we updated our wellness policy, which included a lot of nutrition education, and so I'm excited for next year to see where we go. I also need to mention that Triton was recognized as a wellness champion for the state of Massachusetts. At a conference a couple weeks ago, we went through the coaching program that helped us update our policy, and so we were featured at a conference, and myself, Stacey Brimacombe, and Jenny King, all wellness committee members, went, and thank you to Brian, who came and also supported us for this recognition. So I'm excited for all the things we've done in wellness and to continue with our wellness initiatives. More money, so grants. I'm so excited to announce that for this year, we have gotten over $82,000 in grants for the food service department. The Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, which is a grant-funded program at Salisbury Elementary, the purpose of that grant is to increase the variety of fruits and vegetables that students eat. So they're trying persimmon and dragon fruit and kumquat and you name it. They're trying all of it. So every week they get one fruit or one vegetable. And so that has been a program that's been very successful, and hopefully we will get it again for next year. We received money for the Northeast Food for Schools, which helps bring in more local foods. We've received Summer Eats, so I'll get to my summer program in just a moment, but we received a grant to kick off our summer program. And what I'm most excited about is our recent, we are a recent recipient of the No Kid Hungry grant. So the No Kid Hungry is a national organization, and they put out a grant for specifically new summer food service operators. And we won a grant for $45,000 to get a new Sprinter van. So we'll be getting a van to help transport food to the communities, and as well as what we'll be doing in the fall. And then as of last night, we won the Awesome Ipswich project as well, and that was $500 to help us with our summer feeding program. Speaking of summer, so we are doing a massive summer program. I am so incredibly excited for this. As an advocate of Universal School Meals, we feed our students free breakfast and free lunch throughout the entire school year. And then the last day of school comes and we say, okay, see you in September. But we've changed the eligibility. Salisbury was CEP this past year, the community eligibility provision, which allowed them to do summer open feeding. Meaning open means anyone in the community can come. We don't check IDs, we don't check registration. If you're a child, you get a meal. And so I wanted to have that in Salisbury. We're feeding Salisbury Elementary School as a closed enrolled site. We're feeding Boys and Girls Club as a closed enrolled site. And then we'll be going to Lions Park and opening that up to anyone in the community who wants to have a meal. But we're a regional school district, and I wanted to open that up to our students in Rowley and Newbury as well, and I wanted to see how we could do that. So the USDA is very picky about eligibility, and everything's based on this map of census data. And Salisbury qualifies for income eligibility, but they don't qualify for rural. And Newbury and Rowley, they qualify for rural, but they don't qualify for income eligibility. However, there are these two small pockets in Ipswich that qualify for both, and they're right on the Rowley border. And so I did my due diligence, and I've been working with the Ipswich Board of Health. I've been working with the Ipswich Superintendent to see if this is something that we can do, and we've got all the green lights to go ahead. So one more thing about the rural piece. So you remember during COVID where we did grab-and-go feeding, right? You come up, you say, I've got 2 kids at home, I hand you 2 bags of food. This year, the USDA came out and said, if you are in a rural community, you can do grab-and-go feeding. And this is a game changer, right? Like I can hand out breakfast and lunch every single day. On Fridays, we can do weekend meals. You show up on a Friday, I'm gonna hand you 3 breakfasts and 3 lunches. It's gonna help with food insecurity, and it's gonna help with food costs for parents over the summer. So we are doing 2 closed sites, and we are doing 3 open sites. We are feeding out of Ace Gymnastics on Route 1 in Ipswich, and out of the Ipswich Utilities Department, Monday through Friday, 11 to 1, July 8th through August 9th. I'm very excited because now my staff doesn't have to find another job during the summer. We're gonna be feeding more kids, and it's overall just a really exciting opportunity for the community. So I have been out and about and meeting with lots of people. I'll be at the Ipswich Farmers Market, Homegrown Market tomorrow to advertise the program. But we just want to feed kids, and so we're so excited. We're opening up 2 schools to do our feeding program, and I'm excited to see where that goes. Other things to come. One of the other goals for next year is sustainability. I started during COVID, and so I'm starting to now realize some of the things that, we've done is based on COVID. Like we're packaging our fruit in, 4-ounce cups with lids, and there's a lot of plastic waste. And so I'm making it a goal of our department to be more sustainable and how we can do that. That came from the wonderful group of 3rd graders at Newbury Elementary who requested a meeting with me to eliminate plastic straws from our cafeterias. And so I'm working with them, and I see that as being totally doable for next year, but also, again, throughout the whole program, what can we do to eliminate plastic and the use of plastic in our cafeterias? And then something else I'm very excited about is a couple months ago, River Valley Charter School reached out. They have been trying to do National School Lunch Program in their school for the last couple years. Currently, if a student brings a lunch from home or they order from Port Pizza, and it's usually a slice of pizza or chicken nuggets and fries, but they wanted to offer the National School Lunch Program meals because they're whole grain, they're fruits and vegetables, lower in saturated fat, lower in sodium, all of that. And so they reached out and asked if it would be possible if we fed their students. And I decided that it was. After I went back and forth about it, because I was like, I'm excited to grow our program and to continue to do that. And at the end of the day, my goal is always to how many kids can we feed. So starting in the fall, we'll be feeding River Valley Charter School. We'll be adding them as a school site as far as feeding goes. And so we'll be feeding them breakfast and lunch every single day. So at least 300 more kids that we'll be feeding from our department. Very exciting. Some more things to come. The USDA just came out and changed all of their nutritional regulations. So even though we have already been heavily regulated, they've come out and said that we need to start lowering our added sugar, which I'm totally on board with. Lower our added sugar. They are reducing sodium again and making changes to specific limits on added sugar to the yogurt, to the cereal, to the milk. And so we are changing our breakfast program. We are going to be doing an overhaul of some of the items that we're serving. We're hoping to do more scratch cooking. I'm open to recipes if you have, I'm already thinking overnight oatmeal, bars, all that stuff. So it's going to be a fun summer of recipe development and how we can make those changes come into play for our breakfast program. And then the last piece, Salisbury was CEP this past year. In the fall, the government came out and said if you're CEP, it's always been 40% free and reduced, you qualify for CEP. That's now been reduced to 25%. So the middle school and high school qualify as CEP and Salisbury does. However, we are allowed to group other schools together if you're in that really close by. Newberry is about 23% free and reduced, and Pine Grove is about 20%. So I have submitted my application to the state and I'm doing the paperwork, but it looks like we'll be able to be community eligibility provision as an entire school district starting in the fall, which is exciting because that means we are no longer accepting any free and reduced applications, exciting for me at least, and working through all of the logistics that go with that. So when I'm hosting legislators, it's been a big thing about pictures, and I've been trying to post as many as I can, and thank you to everyone who shares our pictures. But I made a folder of all of the school meals that we have just as an easy reference in case you ever wanted to see what's the food we're serving if you're not on social media. And then the bottom right is just our Linktree page. So I just wanted to say thank you again for all your support, and I'm so honored to represent the food service department for Triton, and we'll see what happens next year. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? All I have to say is wow.
I tried to go quick. I'm sorry if I spoke a little quickly.
And I mean, I'm always in awe of you anyways, of all the things that you do for our district, and now you're looking outside of our district to other areas. The one question I do have is, by feeding the River Valley Charter School, does that affect our budget at all?
No. So it's just like adding another school site. So we'll take on, obviously, the food costs, but we're going to be making the same meals that we make in all of our schools, and it'll just be making a little bit more and bringing them to that site. So we are adding them as a school site, meaning that every meal that we serve at River Valley, we'll get the reimbursement from the state for that. So it will affect it positively, I am seeing. But I don't know what the exact numbers are going to be yet.
I just want to make sure publicly that we're not feeding the world, and
No, yeah, no.
even though I'd love for you to feed the world with, I mean, just your enthusiasm, and it just radiates from you that I think it's going to radiate with the kids and all that. I mean, getting middle school and high school kids to eat vegetables, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's been a really fun challenge, and it's cool when they will I've worked really hard to develop a rapport with the students where they know that I'm the one that makes the menus. And I was so excited the other day when I was at Salisbury Elementary and the student was going through the breakfast line. He looked at me, he didn't even say good morning. He goes, "You got to put nachos on the menu more next year." And I was like, yes, I've made it. Like, they know who I am now.
Right. That's great. I mean, we're lucky to have someone like Narissa and the knowledge, but we're also very lucky to have you in our district as well. And I'll say it for myself, I appreciate everything that you do. It takes a village, and you're part of that village for sure.
Absolutely.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
I really appreciate all of this because this is such a big thing for so many of our families, and to see it be healthy and nutritious, but to also see it be brought into the classroom and like connect to every portion of their day. It just, the passion that you have for this is shining through our entire district, so thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any comments or?
I mean, I don't know what to say, Sarah. So first of all, I think everyone knows who you are in the school because you're dressed head to toe in fruits and vegetables, which which sort of tips them off from the start. But I think you come in with the passion that that is contagious, which is phenomenal because I see it spreading to food services staff, and I see it spreading to students and teachers and the lunch monitors, and I just think that's phenomenal because part of it's just getting people excited about what's here and what's to come next. I think I want to say I'm very appreciative for being able to offer the open meals. One of the things that I do think the pandemic sort of laid bare for us were how many hidden hungry people there were who are in situations where some months things are great and some months they are not, and some you look at families in particular from the outside, and it sort of looks like everything's running well, and then you start talking to kids or you start talking to parents and they're in a really, really tough place, but they can't get help. And that's been a really hard thing because there are so many resources in this area, but most of them are somehow constricted so that you have to have an income level, or you have to have an application in, or you have to have something, and it just leaves these people that are great except for the last week of the month, or you know, they were fine until they lost a job, but they don't qualify for aid yet, and now they're in a really tough position. I think those are some of the families that I feel most for, and I think this addresses it so well that I just think it's phenomenal. So thank you for all your work on this.
Yeah, I'm very proud of the work that we do, and if anyone wants to hear me on my soapbox, I could go on forever, but the nutrition intake really has nothing to do with a family's income, and I know that the meals that we're serving are whole grain, and they have a fruit or vegetable with them, and the students are getting their healthiest meal of the day at school, and now in the summer too. So we're breaking the stigma around free meals, and especially, I mean, look at the food costs right now. It's astronomical. The dollar does not go as far as it used to. So, but yeah, all that to say is whoever wants a meal gets one. So it's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all that you do.
I was just going to say thank you. I mean, I get to see Sarah all the time in here and experience it, but I'll just say thank you publicly for all the work that you do.
Yeah, thanks. See you this summer.
Next item is the FY23 financial audit. Last month, the Finance Subcommittee reviewed the fiscal year 23 financial audit that was recently completed by Roselli, Clark and Associates. Since this is an important report, the subcommittee referred this report to the full committee for review. Brian Perry, the Director of Finance and Operations, is going to provide some highlights from the files attached to the agenda.
I'll try and save you guys from the details that a subject that she skipped over.
We're good. We're good.
ripping off. Yeah.
They'll come back, don't you worry.
Yeah, thank you for bumping this. This is like ripping a Band-Aid off everyone else here, so. The agenda did include 3 different reports that we get from Roselli and Clark as part of the audit. This is from the fiscal year ending FY23, which is actually the year that ended actually about a year ago, June 30th of 2023. The first one and the most involved of the 3 reports is the financial statements. Pages 1 through 3 provide the opinion from the auditors. This is probably the most important part of any of the 3 reports, that they state that we have what they term as an unmodified opinion. This is as good as you can get. It shows that there's no material weakness and there's no significant deficiencies in our accounting systems, our financial presentation. They note the financial statements referred above present fairly in all material aspects, which is critical just to show that there's no immaterial weaknesses. There's nothing that they find that we're not reporting properly. We're basically complying with all prevailing laws and regulations in accordance with financial standards. 4 through 10 of the financial statements goes through management discussion and analysis. This is basically just a Cliff Note summary, the financial highlights. For example, they note that we have $4.6 million in fund balance of all funds. It's not just the general fund. The general fund does cover about $2.1 million of that, and that's largely due to the stabilization fund. As far as operating performance goes, we had, again, with all funds, not just the budget that's approved, but counting grants, scholarships, et cetera. The revenues brought in were $61.7 million against expenses or expenditures of $61 million, so we did improve our financial position by $0.7 million in FY23. 11 and 12 in the financial statements are for all funds. It's forward-looking, and it shows a net position of a deficit of $89 million, which sounds alarming at first, but again, it's forward-looking, so it includes our future costs for pension, which is with Essex Regional, and that's noted at $15 million. This is done through actuary. It's not an easy figure to put your thumb on. And then the most staggering number in there is a $70 million for OPEB, which again is a future obligation. This is obligations outside of pension, basically, so it's really just health insurance for retirees, it's benefits for retirees outside of their pension. And this, again, is something that's not an easy number to put your thumb on. It's done through actuarial analysis. And it's become a focus for rating agencies, really. It's not due tomorrow, it's not due next year, it's due over a lifetime, basically. So it sounds like a large number, but it's a number that we pay our obligations each year without a challenge on that. 17 and 18 in the financial statements touch on agency and trust, which is really, again, our OPEB trust fund, and then scholarships. So that's pretty limited, but it's straightforward. If you did want to dig into more details, pages 19 through 38, so the footnotes, that will go into a lot more detail for the pensions between the Mass teachers as well as Essex Regional. It also goes into a heck of a lot more detail on the OPEB and how they get into that. And then at the back of that, 38 through 43 is required supplementary information, which is schedules they're required to include. Some of it's historical. It touches on our pension contributions, teachers' contributions, as well as, again, OPEB. It also does have a presentation on budget to actual for FY23. The second report is the single audit. This is also known as basically just a grant report. It focuses heavily on federal grants, and it has a larger focus on federal grants we get that are over $750,000 or more. They also have an unmodified opinion. This is, again, the best we can get. It shows there's no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and it affirms that we comply with all federal mandates in receiving the grant funds that we have. One of the grants they touched on is actually child nutrition, just jumping off of Sarah. We also had the SPED IDEA grant look through, basically. Again, those two, nutrition and the SPED IDEA grant, were over $750,000 in federal funding, so that gets basically looked through with a fine-tooth comb for all the expenditures, make sure how we procure them, how we expend them, timing, they compare the invoices to our records. It's a pretty in-depth process. Along with those two grants, they also reviewed Title I, McKinney-Vento, 21st Century Learning, supporting effective instruction, and ESSER grants from ESSER 3, really, or ESSER 2, stemming from the batch of COVID-19 grants that we got for the past couple of years. The last report is titled the Governance Report. This has historically been the management letter. There's usually a little bit more to it. Typically, you may see auditors put something in there more as informational or just you tend to see something in there just to kind of justify the fact you're getting audited. This is a clean audit. Again, there's no difficulties. They note there's no findings. It's not common for districts or municipalities to have something this brief or just essentially sign off saying that, yeah, we get nothing. It's typically there's something that they put in there. And again, I did go through a lot more detail with Narissa and with Paul on Finance Subcommittee, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to get you answers.
Does anybody have any questions for Brian?
Can I just acknowledge and say thank you? Also, thanks to Kyle, who left in February, and then there was a month gap, and Brian took over. And so this is kudos to Kyle and the team in the business office, as well as to Brian, who took this over. It's not easy to step in at this point in any fiscal year, and then to be closing it out and to close out the audit. So thank you to Brian, and certainly thank you to Kyle for his years. As Brian said, we'll state it again, it's uncommon to have a completely clean, no finding audit, and that's what you have in front of you.
Thank you. Next item is summer professional development. Dr. Anna Bates is going to provide an overview of the summer PD offerings for staff.
Thank you. So once again, we have a number of professional learning opportunities that were made available to educators at Triton, and then we also partnered again just with Pentucket this year to provide some additional PD opportunities to educators from both districts. So some of the activities you see on our summer professional development calendar are open to Pentucket educators, but not all of them. We have a lot that are just in-house because they're related to a particular curriculum or they're grant-funded. So I think highlights of this would be that we are starting our third year of a co-teaching cohort. So we have 16 people registered for a 2-day training in June. And we have a lot of work happening related to the implementation of CKLA. So we have a consultant coming working on supporting writing instruction in CKLA. We've been working with her through, we were partnered with Instruction Partners, and we've been working with her for 2 years under a grant. She's been wonderful, built really good relationships with our educators, and now we're contracting just directly with her as an independent contractor. We have Spencer Higgins running a book study on literacy foundations for English learners to offer PDPs in SEI, which is required for relicensure. Unfortunately, we had no one enroll in any of our mathematics PD, actually, in mathematical problem solving. Canceled that one, as well as navigating number stories. But I think there is a heavy focus on literacy right now, and I also think because a number of these are grant funded, we're able to pay teacher stipends for attending some of them, that also increases participation, which I 100% understand. So we were able to use some funds to support building a deeper understanding of the science of reading. So we have 2 virtual professional opportunities in June, and then we're also offering access to a 25-hour online modules that teachers can access throughout the school year. So we have a number of people signed up for that as well. And then we have the other one that is also offered to teachers from Pentucket, as well as fostering student independence and fading support, that Melissa Goldner is running. She is adapting one that she ran for our instructional assistants and got great feedback on. So that's now open to all educators in K through 12, and we have about 9 people registered for that at this point. So I'd like the idea of partnering with neighboring districts. I think it's great to be able to offer additional opportunities. However, we don't have a lot of our Triton educators who are participating in those. We at times have more teachers from the other districts who participate in ours, which I'm also happy for that. But we have 2 teachers participating in a book study, figuring out fluency in mathematics through Pentucket, and 3 teachers who are participating in a book study on the behavior code, which ironically we've offered over the past 4 or 5 years. We have had people participate in it here, so I guess there's still an interest, which is great. We can put it back on our own menu of PD moving forward. Are there any questions about our summer PD? Paul?
Do you have any idea why Triton teachers are not as active in the programs as Pentucket?
Yes, I do. Pentucket offers essentially like in-service credit for professional development that's done over the summer. So similar to the way that we have 12-1 for certain activities, they offer it for all PD. So anyone who takes part in one of these summer activities is actually making movement on the pay scale as well. So I think that has something to do with it. And I think it's hard right now. I think people are spent and after a school year, and we have people who are engaging in professional learning all throughout the year as well. And I think some people are just planning to say, you know what, I'm taking the summer off.
Sure. Okay.
Anybody else have any? No? No?
Thank you.
The next item is the summer programming, and I will hand this over to Shannon or Anna.
All right, we have summer programming running at the elementary level this year. We have some programming funded through the ASOST grant taking place at Salisbury and Pine Grove. They are running 3 days a week from just in the mornings from July 9th through August 8th. And across both sites, we have 94 students who are enrolled in that programming. There are opportunities, there's usually some sort of STEAM connection to it, so science, technology, engineering, the arts, or math. There is also some literacy built in as well. And then we also have Kids Club, non-academic programming, but Kids Club is open at Salisbury and at Pine Grove. It is open to Newbury students as well, so we do have Newbury students enrolled, I believe, just at the Pine Grove site right now. And we have 93 students who are registered at the 2 locations. Most of those students are at Pine Grove. We have much higher numbers there than we do at Salisbury. I think part of the reason for that is that we have other opportunities within Salisbury that a number of people would be using the Boys and Girls Club. So that's it for summer programming. Turn it over to Shannon.
All right, we have, well, first I want to thank Joelle Coleman and Sandy Susi because Joelle is overseeing our summer program this year, and they have worked very hard to put all of this together and contact parents and, look at IEPs, so they're doing an amazing job, and Joelle will be working in the summer program throughout the entire summer. So we offer every year through special education ESY, which is extended school year, and it's to prevent substantial regression. So at team meetings, teams determine students who need ESY in order to prevent substantial regression. So it's very clear that it's not to make progress. So we offer ESY, district-wide ESY at Newbury at the preschool level, and we right now have 12 preschool students enrolled. We offer also at Newbury at the elementary level, district-wide ESY. And then we have the TLC program and our ALPS program. Our TLC program is the Triton Learning Center, and the ALPS is the Adaptive Learning Program for students. The TLC is students with communication disorders, students who are diagnosed with autism, and our ALPS program is our medically fragile program. Both of those at the elementary level are at Newbury Elementary School. And so those programs run throughout the summer. At the middle and high school, we offer an ESY program, and those students, again, it's identified through their IEP team. The ESY program is to provide structure to these students so they continue to come in, have social interactions, they will continue to get, if the team determines, they'll continue to get their related services, speech, OT, PT, and at the upper levels, once we get into high school and the 18 to 22 program, they also do community activities. The 18 to 22 program, I believe, leaves twice a week and goes out into the community. So we have, when you go to the high school, the 18 to 22 program, right now, we have 3 students enrolled in that. And then we move on to, we have tutoring throughout the district, and separate tutoring, also tutoring is determined by the special education team to determine if a student needs to help prevent substantial regression. And we have a total of 51 students participating in tutoring throughout the district. And those students will go to their own home school to receive tutoring in math or reading. And it's determined whether they need an hour a week, 2 hours a week. That's all comes out through the team. So we continue to have team meetings for 2 more days. So we may have more students enrolled, but as of right now, we pretty much have the numbers finalized. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? I have a question. The 51 students, I mean, is that a lot?
We actually have gone down from last year. I think we were in the 90s last year, which is great because that means that our students are receiving what they need to have throughout the school year, and the pandemic, I think, was a huge reason why we were having so much tutoring happening. So yeah, it is a lot compared to other districts, but we are definitely starting to be able to cut back on that, which is great for our kids.
That's the only question I had. Does anybody else have any other questions? Thank you.
Yep.
Finishing that item, so on the agenda, the audit should have been a receive and file. I missed that when putting that on, that should have been under action items. So there should be a vote for the committee to receive and file the financial statements and single audit.
I'll make a motion to receive and file the financial statements as presented.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Paul, you're in favor?
The next item is the new member handbook. Each year, I ask the committee to review the new member handbook to see if changes are needed to this document. The latest version is attached, and I would welcome any feedback anyone has. And just to remind everyone that you should review that every year, just to make sure that we're all in compliance of that. The next item is evaluation of the superintendent. Each year, the committee is responsible for evaluating the superintendent. He is going to take us through his self-review tonight, and each member will be responsible for completing an individual evaluation. By the meeting on the 26th, those will all be collated into one evaluation document, and we will determine and vote on the superintendent's final evaluation.
Thank you, Linda. So you have on the first page of that document, it outlines the timeline as Linda explained it to you. There's 2 pieces. There's an evaluation of my completion of my goals, and then ratings on the standards themselves. So you will complete all of this. You have this documentation to review, as well as other things you've seen and experienced over the course of the year. And then at that QR code or the SurveyMonkey link, either one of those takes you to the same survey. As Linda noted, if you can have that completed by next Friday, Nicole can then work with, I think it's the 2 of you, to synthesize that and bring it to you for the meeting on the 26th. If you have any questions about the survey, you can contact Nicole Stouty, and she can help you get through that. I try and stay away from it since it's your evaluation of me. So for my goals this year, my first learning goal, I'm going to try and not repeat things I've provided, information I've provided to you in recent months. I'm certainly available over the course of the next week, the weekend, whenever you want to get a hold of me, if you want to meet and talk about things, review, if you have questions, or if you would just would like to have a conversation, I'm more than happy to meet with you. But I tried to provide some information here on the progress that I believe we've made on these goals. So goal 1, the 2 actions were about stretch growth, and this is an elementary through middle school for both reading and math, and then the review of the visual and performing arts. For stretch growth, as I noted here, we did not make the stretch growth as I had envisioned back in, I guess it was October and September when we were putting this together. I did note in here a conversation that Anna and I have been having. Because stretch growth is very different, we continue to understand better what stretch growth means. And so actually Anna shared this document with me earlier. The definition of stretch growth is the growth recommended to put students who placed below grade level on a path toward proficiency and students who placed on grade level on a path to advanced proficiency levels. So then there were some averages that were very telling. Nationally, between 25 and 35% of students are achieving stretch growth. So my goal was to increase our percent of students achieving stretch growth by 10%. Now, sitting here, I think Anna would concur with me that I set a very lofty goal because all of our stretch growth is well beyond the national averages. So again, national averages between 25 and 35%. For reading district, we were at 41, NES was 54, Pine Grove 52, SES 38, and middle school 27% for reading. So middle school was within that average. All the others were above the average for stretch growth. And for mathematics, it was a little lower. District-wide, we were 35%, so still the top end of that average. Stretch growth score, if you will, or achieving stretch growth. NES was at 49, Pine Grove was at 43, SES 32, and TMS was at 23%. So you can see the graphs there. For reading, NES dipped a little bit, Pine Grove a little bit. SES actually grew in meeting their stretch growth. TMS, the middle school, I should say, decreased, and then on average across the district, it decreased by 2% of the total individuals, students meeting their stretch growth. As far as math, both Pine Grove, Salisbury, and the middle school did increase the number, again, not by 10%, but did increase overall. NES went down a touch, and as a district, we did go up 3% of the total student body, or we increased our number of by 3%. So I think the goal, as I noted there, achievement-wise, this is what's that mean, the too early predictions, right? This is very, very, very fresh data, so we haven't had a chance to unpack it. Achievement-wise, looking at the data, there was growth and good achievement. There's not growth. There was good achievement improvement. The growth, when you unpack it, we didn't meet that as I had envisioned, but now realizing that was a very lofty goal. That will still remain our goal because, as the definition states, this is about students below grade level achieving toward grade level. The only way those students will ever achieve anywhere near grade level is by making stretch growth. So that doesn't mean it's a bad goal. So the goal is to, as the FAQ for iReady says, we will still want to aim for as many students as possible achieving stretch growth, but it will differ year to year. It's not the same measurement each year with a different group of students. So in the goal to note, I believe there was significant progress made overall, again, not against the goal as I met it in this specific action, but more to come on this because we haven't disaggregated this in great detail yet, since it was literally, I think the last data was just finalized as I was putting this together last week for you. So we'll have more information along with the MCAS scores from this spring. Obviously, it's to have a larger set of data is certainly telling there. Second action on this, I'm not going to repeat.
Brian, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Or maybe this is an Anna question. So I hear you saying that your goal was based on students who are below grade level.
It was based on stretch growth total, so that could have been students on grade level achieving above grade level.
That's, I think, where I was confused because I thought every student had a stretch growth goal. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was just stating that in particular, the way I wrote it, it was about the overall, but in particular with an equity lens, which I'm far more concerned with students who are 1, 2, 3 grade levels below, moving toward grade proficiency, as I am about a student who's already one grade level getting 2 or 3. That's what they need, then that's what we should be delivering. But yes.
I think I'm tripped up in the same way Narissa is. Something you said is not correlating, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is, because you were good, and then there was like 2 to 3 sentences where I was like, that doesn't make sense. Stretch growth is every student,
Every student.
no matter where they started, growing according to your goal 10%.
Correct.
That's what's written here. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not just about students who are grade, like, it's not specific to a set or a group of students. It's for
All
like
students.
all students.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know if it was
I lost you
this.
somewhere while you were talking, and you said something, and I was like, oh, I think I used
So I don't know if it was, I apologize if it was confusing. I don't know if it was the definition. So students who are below grade level will never achieve at grade level without making stretch growth. So that, I don't know if that statement, similarly, a student who's at grade level would never perform above grade level without meeting stretch growth or without making stretch growth. But stretch growth is for everyone, right? It's all students moving from where they're expected to be to where they are going to, right? Higher than where they are.
So I guess my question is, and maybe this is what you and Anna need to kind of, is where, because there is growth, like, there's movement, it's going well. 10% was like a super cool goal, but very big. So I guess my question would be, when you go into that data, what set of students are we not connecting with as a whole? And that would be kind of something I would like to see, but I know that this is fresh data. So I'm just like, for future, like, that would be something I'd like to see, like, which students are really causing this great movement forward and which students are we kind of struggling to connect with. But thank you for clarifying, because when you were talking, I lost you somewhere, and I appreciate that.
That was probably me. And I will say, when Anna and I were talking, we started to pull it apart, and then okay, that was clear, but that's not clear, because there were so many moving parts that without having it all, and then obviously in context with MCAS. So this is a local assessment, and this is a telling and informative assessment that we need and should be doing, but it has to translate then to student performance on a state benchmark in order for it to be fully comprehensive and indicative of what we're doing and providing for students.
It's very encouraging to see Salisbury Elementary progressing in the direction that they're going.
Can I just say something, just a
Please.
little bit, and this is not to take away from your goals, but I was digging into some of the data just earlier today and looking at stretch growth by class and disaggregated by special education and by low income as well, but I noticed a grade level, and I just wanted to give a little shout out to the first grade teachers at Salisbury Elementary, who had 58% of their students meet stretch growth this year, which is awesome. Yeah, and we have nothing to compare that to. We don't have a state assessment or anything, but that was fantastic. Yep.
It doesn't take away from my goals, Hannah.
Nope,
Thank
carry
you for
on.
sharing that. My goals are your goals.
I have one more. I just have a comment on this. The goal itself references both reading and math, but the top of your self-assessment doesn't reflect both of those. It only reflects reading. So I just wanted to note that that's.
Say that again? Where does it only reflect reading?
In the top part of the self-assessment. So it says the action for goal 1 was not met, and in actuality, the total percentage of students meeting their stretch growth figures decreased by
Gotcha.
varied margins. That's only reflected
That's
in
true
the
of reading.
reading
Yep.
one. It doesn't look like you put text in to reflect the math one, which didn't meet, but actually was overall more positive than the reading ones appear to be. So I just wanted to note that, that your self-assessment actually doesn't address your entire goal, which maybe we should ding you for anyway, but.
Noted. Yeah, and again, reviewing this goal, is it increasing it by 10%? So if it was 30%, is that increasing it by 3% because that's 10% of 30%, or is it increasing it from 30% to 40%? So in some ways I could interpret and say, for math, SES met their stretch goal, right, by 10% because they went up by 7. So in actuality, in one measure, they increased it by 20%. So math had better stretch goal, better stretch performance. There was more room for growth in mathematics than there was in reading.
Can I ask another question? Is the decline in NES, PGS, Triton, is it because of the new Thank you, CCAL. I couldn't get all the letters in there. Is it because of the new CKLA?
I could be wrong. I wouldn't think that, well, maybe, I would look at achievement data. Sometimes we see a dip in achievement rather than growth data. So I don't know if there's a connection between, I don't know. Do you know?
I think, do I know? If you don't know, there's a good solid chance I don't. I guess what I would say is the more time we've spent talking about growth, in the aggregate, it's a harder metric to use than achievement because it's so nuanced. Like Anna just said, the first grade that was first grade at SES had 58% making stretch growth. Phenomenal. But then there was likely a factor that they were lower and had more growth, more opportunity for improvement. And that's not to say discredit what the teachers did.
Right.
But there are so many factors that play into growth versus achievement. And there are factors, obviously, that play into achievement. If I were to go back and rewrite my goal won't be about stretch growth next year, right? Because I think there are better ways as the superintendent in the aggregate to look at a pre-K through 12 program. For example, I mentioned Anna is better at writing goals around this. She did a better job on hers than I did on mine. And it's not just because she achieved hers and I didn't. I think the way it's a better measure in having that discussion. What'd you say?
I said, are you going to have Anna write yours?
Yes.
Is that her first assignment for the year?
What was that phrase? It takes a village, right, Linda? Yes.
I guess I do want to say, though, that I think that what you said before about the stretch growth, and thinking about that as a goal, is that, as you said, those students who are well behind grade level, we need them to make stretch growth, and not just for 1 year, but year after year for a few years. And I think that keeping track of those students who hit that 2 years behind, how are we doing with them achieving their stretch growth for the next several years is worth keeping tabs on, and are we improving that?
Yep, for sure.
In the aggregate, sure. Our fourth graders who are reading at sixth grade level are not going to hit stretch growth regularly.
Right.
But those students underperforming are worth the target and the targeted look at how we're doing with them reaching stretch growth.
And that's the disaggregation that will be helpful. Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I will point out, having thankfully no longer needing to look at this data really ever again unless it's my own child, and here, but never having to do what you do anymore. The thought is, though, that growth in Salisbury first grade is so amazing now, but when they get to second grade, you're going to see a dip there, and that's not because Brian's not meeting his goal. I think I just want it publicly stated that when you see that much stretch growth and movement in one grade level, it tends to kind of even out. Like, they're going to keep moving, but it's not going to be those big gains. It does not mean that No, it's because students don't.
She's saying the percentage isn't going to be as great next year
Yeah.
because they've already met
But so
their
while we
next
look at
minimum
this, I
starting
want to say
point.
that 2%, 3% is an amazing movement forward when we look at that first grade exploding with CKLA coming forward and they're our youngest learners taking on a new curriculum and they're exploding at SES. But like as we go forward and we look at stretch growth, some of the biggest gains we make once they hit grade level and start to move and go past their grade level, that growth tends to kind of shrink a little bit over time.
But doesn't, and I'm going to look at Anna right now, doesn't the stretch growth adjust to that? I thought it was looked at the individual student's situation and made the stretch growth based on that. So I would think it would take that into consideration.
So yes, it's very individualized where there's the annual typical growth, which is the other measure that iReady provides, is by grade level. So there's a standard, a number of scale score points that a student would need to increase. And then if they did, they would be moving up one grade level, which would maintain those gaps for those students who are below. So they will still, every student will still have a stretch growth target, but it may not be as large. Yeah, so which is why, unfortunately, we didn't find out until this morning that iReady does not recommend using stretch growth as a goal for the aggregate.
Thank you, Anna, for your counsel.
Yeah.
So back to Narissa's point, so that, I did miss a piece in explaining, hence why I called this, I rated this with some progress. The next piece of this goal, the next action was the review of VPA, which I'm not going to go over again. You have a full document linked here that I believe I met that portion. So in the aggregate, called Goal 1 significant progress. So.
Can I just ask, Brian, when you set the goal for 10%, was it your idea that a number would go from 30 to 40 or 30 to 33? In your mind, what was your thinking?
I believe, and I will be honest, I think what I was thinking in my mind was 30 to 40. That would be a 10%, an increase, I don't know how to say that, right? An increase of 10% of the total number of students achieving stretch growth. Yeah.
Thank you.
Which makes it an even loftier and uninformed goal. But next year, thanks to Anna, I'll be better. So any questions about Goal 1, student achievement overall? I don't know, I'm pretending I can see. Got to put the glasses back on. For Goal 2, the actions were switching to Parent Square, working on the vision of a graduate, which has become Portrait of a Learner, as we've talked about, and then those videos, we'll call them. So I do believe overall I met this goal. As far as Parent Square, as I shared with you, you know we are in process of transitioning. We have all district and school-wide communications through Parent Square. A handful of teachers at each school trying out the communication. Again, the true value of Parent Square is when we have parents utilizing the app, whether, especially for anyone who does not speak English as a first language. The automatic translation is amazing, not just with posts, but with two-way communication and chat. So by the fall, we no longer have a contract as of, I think, August with Blackboard Connect. So we will be fully on board with Parent Square come September 1 when we return. As far as the Portrait of a Learner work, I've spent quite a bit of time sharing this information with you. Happy to answer questions. There is the group. I love the group that we have, kindergarten through teachers of 18 to 22-year-olds, classroom teachers, arts, special educators, all working on this Portrait of a Learner process. Coming together over the summer. We'll be launching this fully with faculty and staff at Convocation in August, and then more widely. And as I noted in here as well, when we talked about this last month with the surveys, we're going to be incorporating the launching of, this kind of gets into my third goal, more broadly with the surveys in that the district equity statement as we move into next year. And then finally, the videos. Oh, the videos. I'm still, this is gonna happen. So this is still a work in process. I've got the list of topics, the first handful of them all ready to go. It was just the time to get out, record them quickly. So I've got to get some lessons in doing this quickly, because what it should be is, an hour visit to a school, which I'm doing anyway, and then a quick, it will remain a goal for next year. So a lot of work done on the preparation. The videos have not started yet. So that was goal 2, and then moving to goal 3.
Oh, 1 second. I just want to make a comment. I think Narissa had emailed me about, I remember last year when parents, there was a lot of hiccups in information that was going out for parents moving from 6th grade to 7th grade. And I think a lot of parents have already been given information already before school ends about information. So I know that was something that you said you were going to work on this year, and I don't know if you can.
So coming from a 6th grader up to 7th grade. Yep.
Yes. I have one. It's been way better. I think part of it, Mr. McCray, Principal McCray even mentioned that he apparently couldn't, until the kids were transferred in Aspen, he was not able to message them previously, so it had to go back through principals at the elementary school, and now he can message directly. We've also received messagings from some of the 7th grade teachers already. We have the date already. And the Aspen login information came out from Greg Kulowick already, so that all the families who have never had Aspen access before are now coming out of the end of this school year with knowing that they can access Aspen, that it's not going to be a crush trying to get your Aspen information from IT the day that schedules are released.
It all drops, yeah. Right?
Going into Aspen, which I haven't dealt with in a year because I didn't have a student that was at the secondary level. The Aspen itself has been cleaned up, so I think it's significantly easier as people are logging in. Nothing is visible yet, but you can get in, you can see your student in there, you can see their current information. So I would say it is worlds above. We already have the date for locker night is worlds beyond where it has been in past years, and I think all of the 6th grade parents appreciate that. And I know the superintendent mentions it in his report as well, but the new mentoring program where the 6th graders come over in small batches via the lease buses and spend a day with a 7th grader is phenomenal. Like they literally are with a 7th grader and they follow the 7th grader through the day. Everything from navigating the lunch line, which is so daunting to kids, which shouldn't need to be, but it's a big change from elementary schools. Going to the individual classes, all the teachers were welcoming, bringing them in and talking to them, whether it was an ELA class or sitting through band. And the more kids that went, you could literally feel the anxiety in the rest of the grade diminish, even if those kids hadn't gone yet. And I was hearing that from parents, like, my kid is in the last couple of waves because it was done over, I think, almost 2 months, a month and a half, something like that.
Pretty much the full month of end of April into May.
My kid's friend went, and the friend brought back stories about what the day was like, and the other kids who hadn't even gone yet, their anxiety backed off about what's coming for 7th grade. And I think it's just worlds, having had a kid who's a freshman now and a kid who's a 6th grader, so different, and in a very, very good way.
So
I just wanted to make point of that because I know a few parents who had 6th graders last year going into 7th grade compared to their 6th graders this year going. It's so different. That's why I know she had mentioned it to me. So I said, I knew that you said this year you were going to make a point to make sure. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody realized how much different it is from last year to this year.
Yeah, and I want to talk about it now since it's in my report. Thanks to Al McCray and Heidi Monjo, the assistant principal. Even the opportunity of the Heidi and Al going out with those small white buses, large vans, and picking the students up and chatting with them the whole way back over to the school, and then dropping them off at the end of the day. We've been talking about this. All of our meet and greet and all these other iterations of getting students acclimated, sixth graders to the middle school, has been focused on the relationships with other students. Like, all our focus has been, oh, it's the 3 towns coming together. I don't want to say it had nothing to do with that, but it really had nothing to do with that, right? It was about the angst of coming from 3 small insular communities where the majority of students started in preschool on up through grade 6, which is an argument to move 6th grade up to the middle school, but all, right, so for 6 years, 7 years, 8, 9 years in the same location, we were just at Pine Grove 6th grade step up tonight, right? That small community for so long, it's not the other kids that they're afraid of. It's the adults, it's the space, it's that huge place, that huge campus over at Triton. So phenomenal, right? I mean, it's just, we're not doing it justice tonight, Abby, how impactful it's been. I've heard positive from teachers, from everyone. To focus on a student experiencing the day in the building rather than experiencing other kids. Kids are great. They're all going to be fine together. So yeah, that's huge improvement. And I will say too, giving credit to Greg Kulowick, we removed the data specialist in our budget for next year. The data specialist, Sue Prince, obviously supported her finding another role since her role was being eliminated. And so she left in April, I believe, sometime in April. And so Greg has taken a crash course that he thought he was going to be working on over the summer, over the last 2 months. So he has taken on all of that. And so a lot of that work in that transition and working with Parent Square is due to a lot of effort on his part. So certainly thanks to him. So any other questions about Goal 2? I said I was going to be brief. The Celtics are officially playing, just saying. And then the final goal, and again, I won't reiterate this, we've talked about this, but in a nutshell, this was about the equity statement, sharing it more globally, and then that equity work. As we've talked through this, and I've kind of contemplated and reflected on this, my goal was to try and push the equity statement out, but it wasn't attached to a thing. And so I think when we talk about the portrait of a learner and the school quality measures surveys that those assessments that we're going to be working on with the community, that is the thing that we then attach that equity statement to talk about. This is who we are, this is what we do, this is what we believe, and then push it out and roll it out that way. So I do believe there was great progress done. I think with a lot of my goals, I write them a little too broad, so sometimes they morph by the time we get to the end of the year, but I do believe there was significant progress, and I'm excited about the work that'll be done over the summer and into next year on all those items. So, as I mentioned, happy to answer questions tonight, anytime in between. You click on that link if you have questions about the survey itself. It's going to ask you to rate the 3 goals, and then it will take you through, I think, roughly 40-ish questions that ultimately get mapped up against the standards, and you have attached to your agenda tonight the rubric, which is used by DESE for the superintendent.
Does anybody have any questions, concerns? Moving on to the superintendent's report. Superintendent Forge is going to go through this report for this month very briefly.
I can be extra brief. We talked about the middle school. Hoorah, huge kudos. Overall staffing update, I will say it's nice. We're kind of, I feel like we've kind of shifted back to having more options when we're hiring. I will definitely say through the COVID years, we were highly limited in the individuals stepping forward to fill open positions. So we talked about the retirement class of 2024, and then there's also always other resignations, moves, non-renewals, what have you. So there are still going to be, it's something in the vicinity of 35 new hires, 40 new hires across the district in various roles, staff, faculty. And it's nice that we have candidate pools to be choosing from. There are certainly still those very specific positions that are more challenging, but overall, it is improving, and we're thankful for that. Every year I published a list of college acceptances. You had two of the top of the class of 2024 here tonight, and Ben Norton and Andrew Daugherty. Obviously, Ben's heading off to Dartmouth. We have other, an impressive list from the academies to prestigious colleges, UCLA, UConn, you name it. So this graduating class is 135 students, and there are just shy of 150 institutions that they were accepted to. Again, I publish accepted to, not where students are attending, because there are a whole host of reasons why students may not attend. I was recently talking with someone as I was traveling, and the student had gotten into Harvard, and I always heard, if your child gets into Harvard, don't worry, they will find a way to get you there financially. And that is not true, because there are a lot of talented kids who are turned away every year. So whether it be Harvard or Dartmouth or UMass or Northern Essex Community College, right? When students are accepted in, it doesn't mean that they're going to have the financial means, and their family could very easily be in that window where they don't quite qualify for aid and the family just can't quite afford it, and tough decisions are made. So an impressive list there this year of college acceptances for our class of 2024. And then obviously we talked about the 318 years of collective service for our retirees this year. An impressive group, to say the least. There's certainly some names on that list this year who have been staples in schools for a very, very long time, 27, 28, 30, 31 years. So we thank them for their service and wish them the best in the future. And then the personnel report is attached if you have any questions on that. Otherwise, happy to answer any questions.
Can I have a motion to receive and file the monthly report of the superintendent of schools for June 2024?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Authorization to lease. Brian Perry is going to present the annual authorization to lease.
Thank you. Yeah, this is new as of last year. It's going to be recurring. Every year we'll ask for the authorization to enter into a lease. This relates to the district's Chromebook program, just to keep Chromebooks refreshed every 4 years. It's real, I guess, Mass General Law had changed in this regard a couple of years ago with municipal modernization, and then American Capital requires it as well. So it's, we have been doing it in practice until we had to be required to get authorization from the board, but it's all budgeted. It's just as part of Greg's Chromebook program, just to keep up to date and refresh the Chromebooks every year.
I have a motion to allow the district to enter into a lease agreement as described for fiscal year '25.
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Preschool math curriculum. Dr. Anna Bates will present a recommendation on a new math curriculum for preschool.
Thank you. So I'll be brief here, too. But let me back up a year. So during 22-23, we did convene the district-wide math curriculum review committee. It's the first time in the 10 years that I've been here that pre-K has been involved in these. And I think it was a great addition to that group, and it really allowed us to think about what are the instructional resources we're using with our youngest students and making sure that they're prepared for kindergarten. So out of that stage one, which is an assessment stage of where we are, we identified the action step of exploring instructional materials for mathematics in pre-K. So this year, we convened a review team. We had representatives from each of the elementary schools. We had representatives from the full-day and the half-day programs, as well as the elementary math specialists. And this was such a great group of educators. I think we had the expertise of the math specialists and the expertise of the pre-K teachers in early childhood education, and Molly Ananasoff did a wonderful job leading a lot of this work while I was out this year. We sort of pulled in some elements of the Portrait of a Learner process into this, where we were having just discussions about what does mathematics learning look like and what does it not look like? And if these are the things we really believe about it, then what do we need out of our instructional materials? And that's what led us to the development of this criteria. I was very surprised at the number of programs that were out there for good, high-quality instructional materials. We cast a pretty wide net and ended up looking at a lot of them in alignment with this criteria. This process took a lot longer, I think, than we anticipated because of the number of the programs and the detail in which we went through them. And I think that gave me confidence in piloting only one of these that really was the best match to our criteria, which is math expressions. By the time we got to that point, we were coming into April, I believe. So we did a 4-week pilot of math expressions, which allowed the teachers to experience some things that came at the beginning of the year and the building of routines, and then also some activities which were more developmentally appropriate for where the preschool students were at this point in the year. They found that math expressions met all of the identified criteria. They were really excited about the level of student engagement in learning math, particularly in some of the stations. It's very hands-on, lots of manipulatives, and particularly one of our pre-K teachers, Jacob Burns at Newberry, I think he has a lot, given the programs that he has and integrating into his pre-K classroom, was particularly excited about how adaptable they were, these materials, and how he could use them to support students with varying levels of readiness and need. So we recommend the adoption of that program for implementation in fall of 2024. We have, not to say that they don't have any curriculum, but because they do use the Foundation's handwriting, they use Heggerty, but we have never done, to my knowledge, a pre-K only curriculum.
I was just going to acknowledge that this, the preschool adoption of curriculum is new.
Does anybody have any questions? I think it's awesome that we have this for preschool, especially math, because I think math, it's easy. Like you don't have to read a whole story and then come up with something. They have instant gratification of an answer, so it's something that will occupy and keep them entertained and engaged. So I think it's great.
Engagement I think, was one of the best qualities of this. And I think with a lot of the learning that happens in the pre-K classroom, that students don't even know that they're learning.
Yeah, exactly. It's all hands-on type things, but they are learning. And I think it's great to get them learning math at as early an age as possible. Motion to approve the adoption of math expressions as the preschool mathematics curriculum starting in September 2024.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Policy review, Section B. Last month, the committee approved updates to the policies in Section B of the policy manual as a first reading. Tonight's vote would be for a second and final reading to put the changes into place. Are there any questions or concerns about these policy changes? Can I have a motion to approve edits to the policy manual, Section B, as presented as a second and final reading?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Policy review, Section C. The next section on the Policy and Advocacy Subcommittee's review rotation is Section C, which is being brought to the full committee tonight for a first reading. The superintendent and the chair of the Policy and Advocacy Subcommittee, Paul Goldner, are going to introduce this.
Do you want me to introduce, or do you want to? It's fairly straightforward, again, as you have for Policy Section B. This is our routine review cycle. The making sure I'm clicking on the right one. Yes, the document titled Policy C Review goes through and lists each of the titles and any edits that were made. So these are fairly straightforward. C is a very small section. We did this in one meeting quite quickly. And again, just to confirm, any of these edits take into account any of the MASC recommended changes as well as anything locally that we want to consider.
I have one question. I was a little confused about CHCA and CHCAE. I understand the changes, I think, to CHCA, but then the next one, CHCAE, was also approval of handbooks and directives, but didn't seem to, I don't know if the title is wrong or the content doesn't match it, I guess.
CHCA?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was looking at CHCH.
Isn't the second one that you referenced, isn't that all deleted or not?
It is all deleted, and I'm just, that's why I'm confused, because it doesn't, like the title of approval of handbooks and directives, and then it goes into expulsion and weapons at events and the consequences for that.
So CHCAE is being removed. That doesn't exist in MASC's handbook.
Okay, because
model?
it is weird, like, I don't know what.
We had it. Yeah.
Okay.
Can't give you any history on that, but
Okay.
it was ours.
Okay.
We had it and we loved it. So that's being struck. CHCA
Is the new one.
becomes
No.
the policy.
Okay.
Yeah, simplified. Kind of a weird, yeah, very legacy language, but it was reviewed by MASC at some point, so go figure.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve edits to the policy manual, Section C, as presented as a first reading?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Authorization for the treasurer to borrow. Each year, the committee considers an authorization that would allow the treasurer to borrow funds on a short-term basis at the end of the year to cover any revenue delays. While this has not been used in a number of years, it is good practice to have the district covered with this authorization.
The only thing I'll say is this is for next year, so you authorize in June for the treasurer to borrow as needed throughout fiscal '25.
Make the motion.
You want me to make the motion? I'll make a motion to authorize the district treasurer with the approval of the chairperson of the school committee to borrow money from time to time in anticipation of the revenue for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, in accordance with provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 17.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Medical authorization delegation. This item is also an annual authorization. It would allow me as the chair to sign for the nurses or administer routine medications or EpiPens.
Sorry, I'll make the motion to authorize the chairperson to sign on behalf of the school committee authorizing medication delegation as outlined in the proposal in accordance with Massachusetts 105 CMR 210.00.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Can I just clarify, so this is not delegating any medication that requires a nursing decision. So this is prescribed, including EpiPens, as you said, just to make sure that's said for the record.
Subcommittee reports, policy and advocacy, Paul Goldner.
We have not met since May. You just voted on that meeting. We will be meeting next week briefly, hopefully. We have one policy to review and sort of reorganize and set an agenda for next year.
Finance, Paul Mayette.
At our last meeting, we focused much of our time on the audit that we went over earlier tonight, as well as looking at, as we come closer to the end of the year, as we spoke about earlier, some of the projects that have been done this year will have to come out of our stabilization funding as we wrap up the open purchase orders and whatnot, we will see exactly how much that will come of that. I always feel like we're getting here a couple of weeks afterwards, and I don't know how much has changed, but we look to be in good standing in terms of not having to go into E&D as far as that.
The one thing I was going to say, the next meeting is Monday, the 24th at 9 a.m. We're going to post that agenda by whatever that is, the 20th at 9 a.m. It will be without documents because we're going to go at least till the end of the day Friday, if not Monday morning. It'll be routine reports as well as that stabilization, and we want to take as much time as possible to refine those numbers before that vote.
It's the final payrolls are getting run concurrently with us trying to post the reports. We just want to make sure everything's solid.
So there won't be anything shocking and new, but the Finance Subcommittee will see those reports by the time of the meeting, because they'll be hot off the press.
Personnel and negotiations. Brian?
Has not met.
Facilities Subcommittee. Marissa?
That's me. So yeah, I think the last facilities meeting, I feel like of any subcommittee I've ever sat on, this one makes the fastest progress in like forward direction. So there were two things that, so we had Kevin Provencher from Habib & Associates who sat down and went through the facilities assessment from a few years ago again, which was phenomenal to have him go through that. We talked about some of the updates that have happened to the building since then because we had John Skonecki there as well, the facilities director, which was very helpful. The proposal is basically to use a portion of the 29,900 that we approved to use for Habib. The first portion of it would be to do a space needs analysis, which looks at all of the programs that we have in the building. And the needs that they have for space, so it actually identifies essentially what we need to get to properly house all of the programs and activities that we have existing today and that we anticipate existing down the road. And then they'll take that and they'll do what's called a test fit, which would take those programs and look at how they could fit within the current footprint of the building to see what essentially we have that could fit here and maybe isn't in the right space, what is in a good space already, and what essentially doesn't fit here right now. What do we not have space for that we should have the space for, so that we can see essentially what this building is missing for us. And then that will hopefully give us the next place to go down the road as far as sort of what we look at next. Kevin did confirm, I think Brian said this in the last meeting, that obviously that 29.9 is not going to get to us to any really defined plans, but I believe the term he used was conceptual drawings in the meeting, that we'll essentially end up knowing what we have, what we're missing, and what our needs are down the road, and have some idea of what that could potentially look like as sort of an alternative, a plan B scenario like we've been talking about. I don't know, does that capture?
I think that captures it perfectly. And they're working quickly. Literally, he's already given us a color-coded of the building, and our job is to look and make sure that it's all coded correctly. Then they do that test fit. So again, they're using like under 5,000 of that 29,999 to do this analysis, and then we have 25 to do the test fitting in conceptual. Again, the big question is, if we don't get accepted into the MSBA program, what are our options, and roughly what are we talking for numbers? That's the question we're looking to answer, with the reality that the answer to that may end up making it more attractive than partnering with the MSBA, but we won't know that.
And I'll just add too, we told him that we are looking at a timeline of late fall to get this done. So we want to know by the time we get a decision from the MSBA what this looks like.
Sounds very positive. And yes, you guys are doing some rapid work there. Okay, executive session. The committee has an executive session scheduled tonight. Can I please get a motion to go into executive session for a purpose of discussing the district treasurer's contract to return to open session?
The committee, I make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the district treasurer's contract to return to open session.
We need a roll call vote.
Second.
Yeah. I'm just jumping right over that. Paulise?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Caitlin?
Yes.
Paul Goldner? Yes. Narissa?
Yes.
Paul Mayette?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well.
This is literally very, very quick.
The committee has negotiated a new contract with the district treasurer on the same terms as previously for 2024, 2027. Can I have a motion to approve the district treasurer's contract as presented for 2024, 2027?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Can we have, oh, we already did those. Oh, you have to. We don't.
I thought you did.
They just become public.
Okay.
Okay. The next item is motion to adjourn. I want to thank all of you.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Have a nice evening.